welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. For over 150 years, ours has been a church of open minds and loving hearts, celebrating wisdom from many sources, many spiritual paths, many identities, all of which help us live lives of compassion, justice, and love. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your identity are welcome here. And it is an act of love that we are recording from our homes to your home for our communal well-being, and we are grateful to all those who are recording from home and making this possible, those recording music and meditation, those putting together the videos and offering reflections. We're grateful for all those who are participating. And today we're grateful for our members of the church, Angie, Gupta, and Kelly Ray Kirkpatrick, who agreed several weeks ago, a couple months ago, to offer reflections for Earth Day before we moved to online services. And I'm grateful for their flexibility for this Earth Day service. Gathering in this way, thank you both for your reflections today. And a special thanks to Peter Mayer as well, who was supposed to be here in person a couple weeks ago for a concert and Sunday morning services, but he has agreed to let us use music recorded from a time he was at First UU Church before to really help add beauty to our service today. He's also going to be having an online live concert on Facebook, so you can check out his Facebook page or look in your e-news from the church to find a link for that coming up soon. And during the service, we invite you to light a chalice or a candle if you have one at home. You can also go to our website for the offering today to give online, a time when resources are still needed for many good causes. So today we're continuing our practice of sharing the plate. In response to the community needs right now, today's offering will go to Channel 1 Food Bank, providing food assistance for families in need. Half the plate will go to their work, and because of the generosity of an anonymous donor, that half will be matched. And beyond this service, you can stay connected in many ways. Join us for online coffee hour Sundays after church. Join us online for a forum every Wednesday at 6:30. This coming week for Earth Day is with guest Anthony Whitmer from Olmsted County for a conversation about environmental justice practices in our area. Join us at 6:30 Wednesday night for that. And to celebrate Earth Day, visit our Facebook page or see your e-news for opportunities to participate in an Earth Day art project for all ages, making some art on index cards. You can find more in your e-news about where to submit them. And be on the lookout for this September as our environmental justice group launches a reusable bag campaign and talks about banning plastic bags in Rochester and a campaign around that. There's still a lot happening in these times, even though we're not gathering at church. So find more ways to celebrate Earth Day in these days. We hope that this service and these opportunities connect you to the earth and offer a chance for your soul to breathe during this time. These aren't easy times, so may you find moments to breathe, to laugh, to play, to let go of some of the expectations and demands of this hard time, and to hold yourself in grace and compassion and love, both yourself and your family and those around you. In the words of Universalist John Murray, may you find not hell in these days, but hope and courage. It's good to be together.
Stand apart, put a fence around your yard. You can build a tall rampart, guard it with a gun. You can dig yourself a moat, burn the bridge, burn the boat. It won't matter that much, you know, 'cause all the world is one. All the world in a big parade every Independence Day. You can raise up your own flag, sing your own anthem. It'll ring out in the air with the other anthems there. To the winds of the earth declare, all the world is one, all the world is one. Go and ask Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Go ask Walt Whitman when he's looking out at the sea. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Ask an atom in the breath you take. Ask the water by the river bank. Ask a strand of DNA, it's written in your blood. One life running in your veins, one light from one big bang. You can try and separate it, but all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Ask Annie Dillard when she's up on Tinker Creek. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. You can take an outbound train, try to make a getaway. You can ride off like John Wayne into the setting sun. But earthlings don't leave town, they just go round and round till they figure out all the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one.
Our seventh principle states, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote respect of the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. This Wednesday, people around the globe will celebrate the 50th Earth Day. As a former Wisconsinite and someone who as a child met Senator Gaylord Nelson, I have always felt a special pride that my senator came up with the idea of a national day focused on the environment. Before that time, independent groups were working on various environmental problems, but without any coordination. That first Earth Day brought together 20 million Americans and provided much needed emotional, intellectual, and bipartisan focus. In that spring of 1970, I was a senior in high school. We knew rallies were being planned on college and university campuses around the country, including our own UW campus in Eau Claire. Now, the advantage of attending a small Catholic all-girls high school run by Benedictines known for working on justice is that we were given permission to attend that rally. I don't remember anything of the speeches that day, just my sense of excitement that I was part of something big, that we could save the planet. Since then, I've taken to heart the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And on a checklist of positive actions, I certainly have proof to the good. Growing summer vegetables and frequenting the farmer's market to support local and reduce my carbon footprint? Check. Composting yard and food waste? Check. Taking usable bags to the grocery store when it is allowed? Check. But while I could go on with a longer list of positive actions, I realize that sometimes I take the easy way out. I feel my job is done when the garbage truck takes my recyclables down the alley. I simply send money to Trash Hero, a non-profit group created by a Swiss cousin that brings communities together to reduce waste. You can check out Trash Hero TED Talk. Earth Day this year will be noticeably different. It is estimated that 1 billion people worldwide participated in Earth Day activities last year. The challenge will be to generate that same energy while we pay attention to the COVID-19 science and follow public health rules. Here are a few suggestions for action. Participate in an earthday.org digital event. Email politicians this week, and this fall, vote for pro-environment candidates. Post on social media. Check out ebooks from the library to learn more about environmental science. But not everything has to be action-based. There's also a place for quiet contemplation, to think about our Earth and capture the liberating feeling described in Jane Yolen's poem, Earth Day. I am the earth, and the earth is me. Each blade of grass, each honey tree, each bit of mud, and stick and stone is blood and muscle, skin and bone. And just as I need every bit of me to make my body fit, so earth needs grass and stone and tree and things that grow here naturally. That is why we celebrate this day. That's why across the world we say, as long as life, as dear as free, I am the earth, and the earth is me. Let us celebrate the world around us and work together so that we might fully affirm and promote the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
This is the Unitarian Universalist Church. This is the Church of the Flaming Chalice. This is the Church of the Open Mind. This is the Church of the Loving Heart, where friends come together and share.
Turn me, earth, to a new sunrise. Turn me into the light of. Turn me, earth, when I close my eyes. Turn me into the night. Turn me, earth, to blackbirds trill. Turn me into the light of morning and round again to the whippoorwill. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night again. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. And as you're spinning light and dark, turn me into the light. Turn me, earth, around your star. Turn me into the night. Through the seasons we will go. Turn me into the light. Summer rain and winter snow. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night again. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Mother Earth, your child I am. Turn me into the light. And I was born for this dance. Turn me into
story. If the kids aren't watching already, have them join us. The chalice is lit. The story is called The Tailor, and I first learned this story from Nancy Schimmel, a librarian and storyteller. It's in her book, Just Enough to Make a Story, but the book is for adults, and it doesn't have any pictures. So this morning, your job is to use your brain and see the pictures in your mind. So, like all good stories, this story starts once upon a time in a land far, far away. There was a tailor. Now, he was a very good tailor, but he lived in a very small village, and so he was very poor. It was a place that was like Minnesota, cold in the wintertime, and he often made overcoats for other people. And he wanted very much to have his own warm winter coat. And so he saved and he saved and he saved until he had enough money to buy the fabric so that he could make himself a winter coat. And he laid the fabric out and he measured very carefully and he cut very carefully and he sewed even more carefully. And he made himself a coat. And it was a marvelous coat. It had a tall collar and it went far below his knees, so he stayed very warm when the cold winds blew. And he wore his coat every time he could, even when it was just the slightest bit cold. And he wore it and he wore it until it was all worn out. Or so he thought, until he looked very carefully and saw that there was just enough left to make a vest. And so he laid his coat out and he measured carefully and he cut carefully and he sewed even more carefully and he made himself a vest. And he looked very handsome and he wore his vest inside and outside and he wore it all year round and he wore it and he wore it until it was all worn out. Or so he thought, until he looked carefully and saw there was just enough to make a cap. And so he laid out the vest and he cut very carefully and he sewed even more carefully and he made a cap and he wore the cap inside and he wore the cap outside and he wore the cap and he wore it and he wore it until it was all worn out. Or so he thought, until he looked carefully and saw there was just enough left to make a button. And so he laid out the cap, he cut very carefully, he sewed even more carefully, and he made a button. It was a bright button, and he wore it every day, and he wore it, and he wore it, until it was all worn out, until he looked and saw he had just enough to make a story. And that's the story I've just told you. So this week, we're going to celebrate with people all over the world Earth Day. Now, it's always a good thing to think about the earth and the flowers that'll be coming pretty soon, and trees and grass. But this week especially, people think about the earth and they think about what they can do to help the earth. Things like reducing what we use and reusing what we use and recycling what we use. So this week, think about reducing, recycling, and reusing.
We are in different places, but are still together, and we gather in a virtual way as we continue to create a place of communal caring and connection. We are enriched by the presence of each other and are drawn closer to the heart of love in this time of service and reflection. In this time together, we ask that our minds be open, our hearts welcoming, our arms embracing. We honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We thank Linda Thompson, serving as our caring coordinator for the last 2 weeks, arranging care for our members and friends in need. Lynn Didier will take over tomorrow for the next week. Sandy and John McLaughlin will continue helping to arrange care for those needing services related to this very unique time when many of us have different needs related to COVID-19. Many of us may need additional care throughout this time, whether it be pastoral care, grocery delivery, or an errand run, and we encourage you to reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. We thank all of you who have offered to assist with all of these tasks, grocery shopping, rides, phone calls, and card writing, and we send so much gratitude to you all for serving our congregation in this way, now and always. In this community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person here has value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those whose lives are touched by sadness, by illness, by worry, or by loneliness. We revel in those who are celebrating joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all. May all of us find comfort, hope, joy, and healing strength in this community. Julie and Bob Summers are happy to announce that they will be first-time grandparents at the end of October. Their daughter Sandra and husband Sam, who are UCC and UU ministers in Memphis, and baby are all well, and we hold them in our thoughts at this exciting time. Now more than ever, we need to reach out to all in our community to let them know we are still here and holding them. We encourage you all to send cards and make calls to those you love, opening the doors of communication and community. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
Breathe deep the breath of life. Breathe deeply in this community of love and justice, hope and grace. Know that here you are named and you are known as beloved, as sacred, as welcome. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer in your home, focusing on your candle or chalice, looking out a window, or holding those who you're gathered with. Find your breath, center down, as we first share slow breaths of silence together. Spirit of life and source of love, God of 1,000 names and beyond all naming. In these days where winter and spring are woven together, sun and snow and wind, growing hours of daylight in the muddy mess of the world and the muddled mess of our lives, may the earth teach us, the trees hold us. May they teach us how to sway and still stay rooted. May we remember as buds begin to blossom and green shoots pop up defiantly up through uncertain and what was hard, cold soil. May we too find a way to bring forth all the vibrant life and love we can muster, all the hope and compassion, creativity and joy we can find, and learn from our greatest teacher, the earth, from its beauty and its fragility and our interdependence. We hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, in body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names that you're holding in your own heart this day in joy or in sorrow, in celebration or concern, and silently or aloud now in this time together to speak their names. For all those names spoken and unspoken, may we all be held in love. And it's with deep sadness that we share a longtime member of First UU Church, Jasper Dowie, passed away late Friday into early Saturday morning in his sleep. He was a member of the church, serving in a variety of ways for years with his wife Cynthia, in the community and in the congregation. It's such a tender time and hard time to lose someone, but we hold Cynthia and the entire family in love and in strength in these days. And I light this candle in Jasper's memory. And I offer this sung blessing. As you go on your way, may love go with you. May love go before you to show you the way. May love go behind you to encourage you, beside you to befriend you, above you to watch over, and within you to give you peace. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. And may we be forever grateful for the fabric of love and life that weaves us together. May those threads hold us all in love. These words of meditation come from Gary Snyder. The rising hills, the slopes of statistics lie before us. The steep climb of everything going up as we go down. In the next century, or the one beyond that, they say, are valleys, pastures. We can meet there in peace if we make it. To climb these coming crests, one word to you and your children. Stay together. Learn the flowers. Go light. Amen.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Earth blessing. Earth, teach me stillness as the grasses are stilled with light. Earth, teach me suffering as old stones suffer with memory. Earth, teach me caring as parents who secure their young. Earth, teach me courage as the tree that stands all alone. Earth, teach me limitation as the ant which crawls on the ground. Earth, teach me freedom as the eagle soars in the sky. Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall. Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring. Earth, teach me not to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life. Earth, teach me to remember kindness as dry fields weep with rain.
For 45 years, I've been intrigued by man's manipulation of the planet and other living beings. I find it fascinating, the power we have over the planet and how effortlessly we make choices about what we want without considering others. This relationship, this dance between the hand of man and nature, compels me to appreciate beauty on so many levels, but to also advocate for the ugliness and pain we inflict on the planet and each other. In this emotional space, my deep well of spirituality begins. It's my choice this morning to be at Oakwood Cemetery. I find this to be one of the most beautiful places in the city. Here, the hand of man is expressed eloquently in word, in the scroll work on stone, in the placement of beautiful mature trees and not often seen tree species. There's delicate volunteer wildflowers that also bloom in the shade. Animals abound here: squirrels, the downtown crows, rabbits, a plethora of birds, including hawks and the occasional eagle. Deer even wander into this fenced area. Yet, this place also highlights so many crimes against our planet: the mining of stone, excessive use of water and chemicals to maintain a facade. Yet, it all still draws me into the peace and serenity that is captured when man and nature can become one. I don't recall the first Earth Day in 1970. My family lived in Lakewood, California, and it was 6 days before my 6th birthday. With their 4th child, My baby brother just being 3 months old, my parents didn't have a celebration in mind for that day. It was probably the furthest thing from their mind. But 4 years later, at age 10, I was profoundly moved by a 26-minute educational film called Me-cology. This term, me plus ecology, is something that's moved me since. Seeing other children in the film my age speaking out on their relationship with the environment and inviting other kids to find the right thing to do in a me-cology situation really got me thinking about my impact on the planet and what I could do about it. It was also around the same time I saw the television commercial that officially launched the Keep America Beautiful campaign. An actor playing the character of Chief Iron Eyes Cody paddles a birch bark canoe through a stream in his fringed buckskin leather. There's images of smokestacks and industrial polluters moving across the screen. But when he reaches the shore, he steps out of the canoe and pulls it securely onto a rocky beach, and the camera scans to a heavily littered shoreline. The narrator breaks through the orchestrated music and says, "Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country, and some people don't." Iron Eyes Cody then makes his way up a hill to the edge of a highway, and a long vehicle speeds by, throwing a bag of fast food packaging and waste and leftovers at his feet. The narrator then continues, "People started pollution, and people can stop it." The narrator finishes and the camera pans up to the actor's face, focusing on one tear flowing from his eye. I recall spending countless nights awake, worrying about the planet, asking my parents about the Indian in the commercial and why he would be crying. When we returned to Rochester in 1975, no longer a two-parent family, I found solace in the woods. I would dig up wildflowers and move them next to the stairs that I had dug into the slope in the forest floor, sometimes using large roots for a step along a path. I'd find small shrubs to move into little pockets of my outdoor rooms and build miniature houses out of small sticks for toads. Plants and wild animals became my new friends. Numerous more Earth Days came and went, and after high school I moved to Dallas, Texas to study fashion design. The big city held so much beauty for me and so much pain. I experienced incredible architecture and art, but also crime and oppression for the first time in my life. I had never seen so many mirrored glass buildings, so many starlings in downtown trees, so much poverty, or so many Mercedes. The opulence was blinding. To be sure, I found myself escaping to the couture clothing of Andre Logue at Neiman Marcus, and to both the Fort Worth Botanic Garden and the Dallas Arboretum. Logue's fabrics were bonded, woven with two sides, meant to be separated at the seams, so that there was almost no discernible difference between the inside or the outside of the garment. Incredible work, the hand of man, with nature, natural fibers. Both the Botanic Garden and the Arboretum inspired my passion for beautiful outdoor spaces, the colors and shapes found in flowers, and the built environment that they grew in. My attention to detail served me well when I successfully sold my women's cruisewear line to several retailers across the country 2 years later. But along with these sales, I had sold my spirit to a concept, a deeply oppressive concept built on the backs of those that have little choice. A concept that raped the earth of clean water, her healthy soil, and the people that live most delicately on her. I had to stop and find reality, a reality not in commerce, of the oppressed. Here is where I got my first glimpse of what gardening and agriculture can do. Dances with Wolves came out in 1990, and I devoured everything I could find on Native American spirituality after seeing this film. I visited South Dakota many times, I read dozens of books, learned how to brain tan animal skins and make clothing from the gifts of an animal. I was thankful daily with the rising and setting of the sun, the rain, and the plants and animals that I shared my rural farmhouse life. I had begun, again, and found that the land and the intricacy that escapes us as it moves across its surface. In 1998, I joined this sacred congregation, the First UU Church of Rochester, Minnesota. To me, the very essence of who I am is represented by this building, nestled into the karst, the 7 principles that make up this faith, and the people who share our church with me. It was easy to join in the creation of an outdoor environment here and to help design the changes to the interior that happened 2 decades ago. As my life continued, I added to my family and taught not just my children about our 7 principles, but your children too. I also taught about the many paths we walk in our lives, the choices we make, and the choices that will be made for us. This time of my life, above all others, holds more unfortunate events than any other so far. I still feel numerous losses, for myself, my children, and for what could have been. But this time also held hope. I learned to cup possibility in my hands. Homeless and without much money, my children and I couch surfed until we were offered a home to care for in Montana. There's a deep connection to the big land and the big sky in Montana. There, one acknowledges nature in every direction you look. Man doesn't win over nature with such regularity and success in Montana as we do here. This buoyed my spirit through my attachment to the land and being able to dig and plant once again. I returned to school during this time pursuing my passions: design, ethics, biology, and policy studies. Surely if I immersed myself in my passions, I could heal myself and learn how to make right the many wrongs we commit each day. I found that agriculture and food, flowers and spirituality are not far from each other. Since earning my master's degree last spring, I have not worked for money. I have immersed myself in the local food system. My goal is to educate and to increase food security. I teach people how to grow food. I distribute food, and I work on policies and projects that increase and preserve areas that have grown food for a long time and strive to create new areas to grow food. I've never felt more at one with our planet than I do now. The legged and the winged and the swimmers that share this place with us are sacred to me. My faith is now complete and entire, and I make a difference through service, and I feel whole. Growing food is the ultimate hand of man in nature activity. It can be done well, and it can be done as an industry that mines the benefits of the land and leaves nothing in return. By creating more life and more energy, all from the sun, I feel whole. The power that's held in a seed is miraculous and can right the wrongs of the world. I always knew that I would take a path less traveled, but I still marvel at how the path is made. After all, a path is, in and of itself, representing life. Some organism has to create a path. Rarely do paths exist on their own. Lives lived with a measure of certainty move through their environment. And here is where my spirituality lives, on a seldom traveled path between the complexity of man and the simplicity of the planet.
Unlike our new normal, I'm not going to stay in front of the camera while I offer my insight. I invite you to look at a tree outside of your window, or close your eyes, or watch the forest in this video. During a walking advanced biology field tour in the spring of 1994, as an inner city high school senior in Indianapolis, I looked into the treetops for the first time and noticed the leaves were different. Oak leaves are lobed in different ways and sometimes pointed. Mulberry leaves have 3 different shapes on the same tree: mitten-shaped, 3 lobes, and simple, not lobed at all. Poison ivy has 3 leaflets. This was the day I started paying attention to trees. I've never considered this attention and learning as a spiritual journey until Reverend Luke asked me to do this service. He's right. Long ago, trees and the environment started taking on spiritual overtones for me. Now I look at trees, wood, and habitats and see many things. At the end of last week's Easter service, Reverend Luke's poem offered this line: "For the ordinary tenacity of plants and people, Barak Atanoi." The tenacity of trees to stalwartly feed, shelter, and enable us to thrive, producing no less than the air we need to survive, while asking little but space and some protection awes me every day. As I've learned more and learned how to understand what trees tell us, I think of the line from the UU hymn, "We are." We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. I've often thought of this phrase and thought of wood. Grandmas for centuries planted and tended fruit and nut trees while caring for children and grandchildren. The very breath she used to pray was captured in the wood. With the help of the sun and the miracle of photosynthesis, that wood, often harvested by Grandpa in Minnesota, would heat the family through the winter. That wood, collected by Mom and Grandma in much of the world, fuels the cooking fire and feeds the family even today. Every time I see a beautifully turned wooden bowl or admire the wood grain in floors or tables, I wonder about the story of the tree that grew, the story of the home that the tree provided for insects, birds, reptiles, and mammals, the prayers it consumed to make the wood we use, the person that cut that tree and their dreams for it, the craft that went into producing the material we use. Our responsibility as believers in the UU principle: respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. How do we honor this web through all of its integral connections? Each morning while staying at home, my family's been walking up to the Plummer house to enjoy this tiny forest. We spend 5 minutes forest bathing, sitting quietly under the trees. Repeatedly, I'm struck by their tenacity, and by the many prayers and dreams they've inspired, heard, and captured. By the many lives, small and wild, and currently human and sad and scared, that they've enabled. These trees have stood through the seasons and years, growing steadily. Even this small forest in the heart of Rochester tells a complicated story. When I stop and pay attention, some oddball species like sycamore and eastern hemlock are surely remnants of inspired dreams by the plumbers that built and originally lived in the house. These species are rare or out of range here, but they appear adapted, even normal, surrounded by the oaks, white pines, walnuts, and hackberries found more commonly in our woods. A closer look at tree form and structure tells a story of old driveways and yards long since abandoned. The forest, especially on the south side, is slowly yielding to small trees and invasive honeysuckle. On the north side, the single hill in Rochester, the mature Norway maple's offsprings slowly invade the forest. These small maples are replacing white pine seedlings, now vigorously consumed by the deer that call Pill Hill home. Our native sugar maple seedlings are hampered by the invasive earthworms. The young eastern hemlock harken back to the days when woolly mammoths roamed Minnesota, while the Norway maple and Asian honeysuckle foretell of a very different future. Echoing through all of these woody plants are the dreams of the doctors, those who originally, and often still do, live in the adjacent homes, working tirelessly to save us all during this global pandemic. These stalwart trees, with the help of our mighty sun, will gather up our prayers and cries, creating homes and habitats, until one day, like the new ash stumps scattered throughout the hillside, the trees will be removed and used, hopefully, so our ancestors can be reminded of our breath and our choices. 26 years after I realized the leaves were different, I've become a student of the changes echoing through the landscapes that surround us. As we work together to shelter at home for the benefit of all, take this opportunity to notice the trees. What do they tell you? What will they tell those that follow you? The air is cleaner, the birdsong more noticeable now that we've all been forced to stop, pause, and have the opportunity to listen. Open your hearts and minds to the new way of listening during this Earth Day. What can we learn? What can we do? And maybe, most importantly, what can we do differently in the future to honor the interconnected web of all existence and write the stories that will one day be read in the forests, trees, and wood others will inherit.
Below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue. Sun, my sail, moon, my rudder, as I fly the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful moon. I give thanks to the wind holding me in the virgin
I invite you to take a breath of gratitude for this music and these reflections, for the trees and for the earth in these tender days that is teaching us again resilience. Turn me, earth, to a new sunrise, to the light of morning where everything is holy. Turn to the earth and turn to each other in these days. Carry with you light enough to brighten up the whole world around you like a spiritual blowtorch. May that light your way. Amen.